I was thinking during this period, like before you got into 3000 Thieves as it's known today, why did Athan not get into agency land? Because you did a talk at Real Big Things. You obviously had a profile. You know well-known people in the industry. You still do a bit of consulting here and there to this day, I believe, or at least that's what LinkedIn says.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be happening with July, but you've been a consultant. Help me work this out. What were the sort of best and worst things that made you realise that actually agency land and more of the entrepreneurship game is what interests me?
It's a good question. I don't know, but let's think about this, right? Let's break it down. I think the reality is that what you're doing for other people in agency land is that you're solving other people's problems. And so they're coming to you saying, I don't know what to do here, can you help me out? After a certain point in time, especially working in the strategy team, after a certain point in time, your strike rate on execution is actually quite low.
Really?
Definitely. You're coming up with ideas, you're pitching things, but the reality of the situation is maybe 5 or 10% of things actually end up going through all the way to the end.
Yeah.
You're still, the ideation, the fun stuff still happens, but the execution rarely to final thing. And I reckon that can wear you down a bit. I think it can wear you down. You either don't care anymore and you're just like, let's just get them the creative idea and get the job done, or you continue to care and it upsets you that you're not getting these things through. For me, it was very much that. I would personally get upset that some of these ideas were not going through, and I thought, again, through this arrogance, stupidity combination, that these ideas were great. We should definitely be doing these ideas. There was this one for BP that never ended up going through. If any of the old DT guys are watching, will have a laugh. But it was basically what 7-Eleven pulled off a couple of years ago with their petrol. You could lock in futures for petrol, and so you buy your petrol on Monday at the lowest price point, but you've got all week to fill it up at that price point. So you're actually banking cash, and what we were talking about before in terms of the float.
The float with the insurance business.
You're actually banking cash and to float and use for other purposes, gain interest on it, whatever, and then commit to the petrol later on. Basically, you're pre-buying gift cards at a certain price point for fuel. I thought it was a great idea.
And you can hedge it with commodity contracts anyway.
Yeah, I'm not that smart. All I knew was that this was going to work to a degree, and people smarter than me would figure out what to do with the money afterwards anyway. But you start thinking, but it's not your place in agency land to really come up with these sorts of kind of ideas. You can kind of pitch them and hope that they take it through, but those sorts of ideas can tend to be for larger consultants or people within the business. Anyway, it never ended up going through. Those sorts of things end up frustrating. I still remember it, right? That's the kind of thing that it's still stuck in my brain, that it still would have been a good idea. And to this day, I still think would be a great idea.
But this is what makes you an entrepreneur or a good entrepreneur, is that you're incessant about a thing, and I feel like you have to be emotionally invested in things to continue, as Elon Musk says, chewing that broken glass and looking into the abyss.
I've never heard that one.
Yeah, he says entrepreneurship is like chewing broken glass and staring into the abyss.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, it could be.
It can be at times. Sometimes you just sit there and think fuck, I'm just doing this all wrong. Or I just don't know what I'm doing, which I guess comes to an interesting point. Have you had that in the last year where you thought man, we're just doing this thing all wrong and we need to change this?
The last year and a half, definitely not. With July, we've been extremely lucky that every decision we've made has helped grow the business. We haven't really stepped wrong that much. Before that, there's been heaps of things, and I'm sure we'll get there with July as well. We've been extremely lucky for the last year and a half, but prior to that, there are always moments where you go, am I really doing the right thing? Like getting back into consulting, that was the 3TT strategy side of things. That was that moment where we were like, am I really doing the right thing here? Do I really want to be consulting and working on other people's problems that they won't fix?
Yeah.
Even after I've done my bit. And again, I had some great clients in that stage, and I know you're gonna talk about it anyway, but it leads into this, right? So I started a co-working a co-working business. Called Neighbourhood. And that was based off, I fell in love with this building that used to be the building that agency Today Design was in.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful building. And I remember telling Adam, who was the owner of that business, if he ever leaves, let me know, because I'd love to live here. And he was leaving. He told me, and then I saw the rent bill, and I was like, okay, let's not live here. But this could be the beginning of the office for 3TT, because we had a look at WeWork. It was expensive for not much, and we're having a look around. And at that point, it was like, this can be a thing. We can actually make this a thing. We can actually do this properly, as opposed to it just being our business, plus there's some desks free for you to use. And I remember being at that point, at that crossroads, going, I don't really want to work on other people's problems.
Yeah.
I don't care enough right now. In this stage that I'm in, I did care, and I really did care. But I felt like maybe I've just got over it. I got over working on other people's stuff that wasn't ever going to eventuate. Probably because I was too emotionally attached to the work.
Yeah.
And expected an outcome.